There's a debt instrument sitting in the global financial system right now that almost no one is talking about. It's worth $1.8 trillion. It doesn't trade on the stock market. It doesn't appear in your portfolio. And yet, when it detonates, it will take down currencies, commodities, and entire sectors faster than anything we saw in 2008. The fuse is already lit. The clock is ticking. And the people holding the match are the same institutions telling you everything is fine. This isn't speculation. This is accounting. This is physics. And the math has already locked in the outcome. Let me show you what they're not saying. The instrument in question is called a Collateralized Loan Obligation, a CLO. If that sounds familiar, it should. It's the cousin of the Collateralized Debt Obligation, the CDO, the financial weapon that imploded the housing market and triggered the Great Recession. But here's the difference. CDOs were backed by mortgages. CLOs are backed by corporate debt, specifically leveraged loans, loans given to companies that are already drowning in debt. Companies with credit ratings so low they can't access normal bond markets. Companies that are one rate hike, one recession, one supply shock away from default. And right now, there is $1.8 trillion of this debt packaged, sliced, repackaged, and sold to pension funds, insurance companies, hedge funds, and banks all over the world. The same financial engineering, the same ratings agencies, the same DRA labels slapped on toxic risk, the same delusion that diversification eliminates danger. It doesn't. Here's how a CLO works. A bank makes a bunch of high-risk loans to struggling companies. These loans pay high interest because the risk is high. So the bank doesn't want to hold that risk. So it bundles hundreds of these loans together and sells them to a special purpose vehicle. That vehicle then slices the bundle into tranches. The top tranche gets paid first and is labeled AOA, safe as government bonds, according to the ratings agencies. The middle tranches get paid next. The bottom tranche, the equity tranche, gets paid last and absorbs the first losses. On paper, it looks smart. Diversified risk, high yield, low default correlation. But that's the lie. The assumption baked into every CLO model is that defaults will be random, isolated, and manageable, that companies in different industries, different regions, different capital structures will not all fail at the same time. But they will, because they're all floating on the same ocean. And that ocean is liquidity, cheap debt, central bank intervention. And when that ocean drains, every ship runs aground at once. Let's talk about the companies inside these CLOs. They are called leveraged borrowers for a reason. Their debt to EBITDA ratios, that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, are often 6, 7, 8 times or higher. In a normal world, that's considered distressed. In today's world, it's considered normal because for 15 years, central banks kept interest rates at zero. They flooded the system with liquidity. They made it cheaper to borrow than to earn. So companies binged. They borrowed to buy back stock. They borrowed to pay dividends. They borrowed to acquire competitors. They borrowed to survive. And now the cost of that debt is rising fast. The Federal Reserve has raised rates from 0 to over 5% in less than 2 years. The European Central Bank followed. The Bank of England followed. And while the headlines focus on mortgages and credit cards, the real carnage is happening in corporate debt markets. Because unlike your mortgage, most leveraged loans are floating rate. And that means when interest rates go up, the company's interest expense goes up immediately. No grace period, no fixed terms, just more cash out the door every single quarter. And here's the kicker. These companies were barely profitable at 0% rates. Now they're bleeding. Revenue growth has stalled, margins are compressing, input costs are rising, and debt service is eating them alive. The only thing keeping them afloat is the hope that rates will come back down, that the Fed will pivot, that liquidity will return. But what if it doesn't? What if inflation stays sticky? What if central banks hold rates higher for longer? What if the economy tips into recession and revenue collapses while debt costs stay elevated? Then you don't get isolated defaults. You get a wave. And waves don't care about diversification. Let's run the math. Conservatively, the CLO market is $1.8 trillion. Let's say 10% of the underlying loans default. That's $180 billion in losses. The equity tranches get wiped out first. That's about 10% of the structure. Gone. Then the mezzanine tranches start taking hits, another 15%. Now you're at 25% of the structure impaired. And remember, these are held by pension funds, insurance companies, regional banks, entities that can't afford to take losses, entities that are required by law to hold investment-grade paper. So what happens when their AOA-rated CLO tranches get downgraded to junk? They have to sell immediately. Regulatory requirements force them to dump assets. And when everyone tries to sell at the same time into an illiquid market, prices don't just fall, they collapse. But let's go further. What if defaults hit 20%? That's not extreme. In the 2008 crisis, subprime mortgage default rates exceeded 25%. If 20% of leveraged loans default, you're looking at $360 billion in losses. Now, even the senior tranches are impaired. The 808 paper starts getting marked down, and that's when the real panic begins. Because once the 808 tranches break, the entire premise of the CLO market collapses. The idea that you can take junk and alchemy it into safety gets exposed. The ratings agencies lose credibility. Again, the models get thrown out. And everyone holding CLOs, whether they know it or not, realizes they're holding a bag of defaults wrapped in a bow. Now here's where it gets worse. Most investors don't even know they own this stuff. CLOs are buried inside funds, inside structured products, inside balance sheets labeled as investment-grade corporate debt. Your pension fund might have exposure. Your insurance company definitely does. The regional bank holding your deposits probably has CLOs on its books right now, marked at par, priced at 100 cents on the dollar, even though the underlying loans are deteriorating. And when the repricing happens, it won't be gradual. It will be violent. Because markets don't price in risk slowly when the risk has been hidden. They reprice all at once, in hours, in days. Liquidity vanishes. Bid-ask spreads blow out. And the only buyers left are vultures offering 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar. This is not theory. We've seen this before. In 2008, pretty overweight-rated mortgage securities traded down to 20 cents, in some cases 10 cents. Not because the ratings were wrong at origination, but because the models didn't account for systemic risk. They didn't account for correlation. They didn't account for forced selling. And the CLO models today are making the exact same mistake. Let me show you the chain reaction. Defaults rise, CLO tranches get hit, pension funds and insurance companies take losses, they sell other assets to cover, stock prices fall, credit spreads widen, borrowing costs spike, more companies can't refinance, more defaults, more CLO losses, more forced selling. The feedback loop accelerates. And no central bank can stop it fast enough because the debt is already issued, the leverage is already embedded, the fuse is already burning. Now ask yourself this, why isn't this front page news? Why aren't analysts screaming about this? Why are the banks that package and sell CLOs still printing them, still collecting fees, still telling investors these are safe, liquid, diversified investments? Because they're paid to, because the fees are enormous, and because by the time the defaults hit, the banks will have already sold the risk. They'll be standing on the sideline, watching pension funds and insurance companies absorb the damage, just like 2008. The playbook hasn't changed, only the instrument. But here's what's different this time. In 2008, central banks had room to cut rates to zero. They had room to print money. They had room to bail out the system. Today, they don't. Rates are already elevated because of inflation. Balance sheets are already bloated. Political tolerance for bailouts is gone. If the CLO market implodes, there's no cavalry coming. There's no Fed put. There's no emergency liquidity facility big enough to absorb $1.8 trillion in repriced risk. And that means the losses will be realized. They will hit balance sheets. They will destroy capital. And the institutions holding this debt will either fail or be forced to recapitalize at pennies on the dollar, wiping out shareholders, wiping out bondholders, and in some cases, wiping out depositors. Let's talk about who gets hurt. Pension funds are massively exposed. They've been chasing yield for years, starved by low rates, and CLOs offered exactly what they needed: high income, investment-grade ratings, diversification, on paper. But when defaults come, pension obligations don't go away. Retirees still need their checks. So the fund has two choices: cut benefits or sell other assets. Either way, the damage spreads. Insurance companies are even worse. They use CLOs to match long-term liabilities. They need income to pay claims. But if their CLO holdings get downgraded, regulators force them to hold more capital. If they can't raise capital, they can't write new policies. Revenue collapses. And if losses are severe enough, they fail. And when an insurance company fails, policyholders don't just lose investment returns, they lose coverage. They lose death benefits. They lose the safety net they paid for. Regional banks are the third leg. They hold CLOs as part of their securities portfolio. They mark them at par. They report them as safe. But when mark-to-market accounting kicks in, those assets get repriced. Capital ratios fall. Regulators step in. Depositors panic. And you get a bank run. Not because of bad loans, but because of bad securities hidden in plain sight. Silicon Valley Bank wasn't brought down by loans. It was brought down by securities losses. The same thing will happen with CLOs. Except this time, it won't be one or two banks. It will be dozens. Now let's talk about what this does to markets. Credit spreads are the difference between what a risky borrower pays and what a safe borrower pays. Right now, spreads are tight. The market is pricing in low default risk. But the moment CLO defaults start ticking up, spreads will explode. And when credit spreads widen, everything gets more expensive. Corporate bonds fall, junk bonds collapse, and companies that need to refinance can't, so they default, which widens spreads further. Another feedback loop. Stock markets won't be spared. If credit markets freeze, companies can't borrow. They can't fund operations. They can't buy back stock. Earnings collapse, and stock prices follow. But here's the part no one is pricing in. The S&P 500 is overweight in the same sectors that are overweight in the leveraged loan market: industrials, materials, consumer discretionary. These companies are levered. When CLOs blow up, their stock prices will get destroyed. And passive index funds, which now control trillions in assets, will mechanically sell. No discretion, no analysis, just liquidation. Commodities will get hit too, not because of supply and demand, but because of financing. Commodity traders use leverage. They borrow short-term to finance inventory. If credit markets seize, they can't roll their funding. They're forced to liquidate. Prices spike down. Then, because physical supply hasn't changed, prices spike back up. Volatility explodes, and volatility kills. It kills traders. It kills producers. It kills consumers. Because no one can plan, no one can hedge, no one can operate. Now here's the part that should terrify you. 1.8 trillion is just the reported number. That's the CLO market that's tracked. But there are synthetic CLOs. Credit derivatives tied to leveraged loans, total return swaps, structured notes, all of which reference the same underlying debt, all of which amplify the risk, and none of which show up in the official statistics. The real exposure could be 2 trillion, 3 trillion, maybe more. No one knows, because no one is required to report it. This is shadow banking. This is the off-balance sheet leverage that regulators can't see and can't control. And it's the same shadow banking that nearly collapsed the system in 2008, except this time it's bigger, more complex, more interconnected, and less transparent. Let me paint the end game. Defaults start small. A few companies miss interest payments, the market shrugs, then a few more. CLO equity tranches take losses. Investors start asking questions. Banks stop issuing new CLOs. The market for leveraged loans freezes. Companies that need to refinance can't. Defaults accelerate. Mezzanine tranches get hit. Pension funds report losses. Headlines start. Ratings agencies downgrade. Forced selling begins. Senior tranches break. Panic spreads. Credit markets seize. Stock markets fall. Central banks try to intervene, but they're too late. The math is already done. The losses are already embedded, and the system has to clear. What does clearing look like? Defaults, bankruptcies, restructurings, asset sales, layoffs, pension cuts, bank failures, all happening at once. Not because of a policy mistake, but because the debt load was unsustainable from the beginning, because 15 years of zero rates created a fantasy that companies could borrow forever, that growth would always return, that central banks would always step in. But physics doesn't negotiate, and the physics of debt is simple. If you borrow more than you can pay back, you default. If enough borrowers default at the same time, the system breaks. And right now, there are hundreds of companies inside CLOs that are one shock away from default. One recession, one rate hike, one refinancing wall. And that wall is coming in 2025, in 2026. Hundreds of billions in leveraged loans mature. Companies will need to refinance. And if credit markets are frozen, if spreads are wide, if lenders are cautious, they won't be able to. And when they can't refinance, they default. Immediately. This isn't a prediction. It's a schedule. The maturity dates are already set. The debt is already issued. The fuse is already lit. The only question is when. And the answer is soon. Now here's what makes this so dangerous. Most investors think they're safe. They think their portfolio is diversified. Stocks, bonds, real estate, cash. But if credit markets implode, none of that matters, because everything is connected. Everything runs on credit. And when credit breaks, correlations go to 1. Everything falls together. Diversification becomes a myth, and the only thing that matters is liquidity, the ability to get out, to sell, to move to safety. But here's the trap. There is no safety, not in bonds, because credit spreads will blow out, not in stocks, because earnings will collapse, not in cash, because central banks will print to try to contain the crisis, and currencies will devalue, not in real estate, because financing will disappear and prices will crash. The only real safety is in hard assets, physical assets, things that can't be printed, can't be defaulted on, can't be leveraged away. But most investors won't figure that out until it's too late, until the CLO market has already broken, until the defaults have already started, until the forced selling has already begun. And by then, the price of safety will have already moved. The window will have already closed. Right now, the market is calm, volatility is low, spreads are tight, stocks are near all-time highs. Everyone thinks the crisis has been avoided, that central banks have engineered a soft landing, that inflation is under control and growth is resilient. But that's the surface. Underneath, the debt is rotting, the companies are struggling, the models are breaking, and the 1.8 trillion time bomb is ticking. And here's the final piece. The media won't warn you. They'll tell you the economy is strong. that unemployment is low, that consumers are spending. They'll interview analysts who say default rates are manageable, that CLOs are well structured, that ratings are reliable. They'll do this right up until the moment the crisis hits. And then, overnight, the narrative will flip. They'll act shocked. They'll blame unforeseen circumstances. They'll call it a black swan. But it's not a black swan. It's a gray rhino. A massive, obvious threat that everyone can see but no one wants to acknowledge. Because acknowledging it means admitting the system is fragile, that the recovery was built on debt, that the models are flawed, and that the people in charge don't have the tools to stop what's coming. So, where does that leave you? It leaves you with a choice. You can ignore this. You can trust the system. You can believe the headlines. You can stay invested in the same assets everyone else is holding. And when the CLO market breaks, you'll take the losses with everyone else. Or you can see the math. You can see the structure. You can see the fuse. And you can act now, while there's still time, while liquidity is still available, while the exits are still open. Because once the defaults start, once the downgrades hit, once the forced selling begins, the exits will close, the liquidity will vanish, and the repricing will be brutal. Not gradual, not fair, just brutal. This is not financial advice. This is not a recommendation. This is just math. This is just structure. This is just inevitability. The 1.8 trillion time bomb is real. It's ticking, and the people holding it don't even know it's there until it goes off. The math is already locked in. The defaults are already scheduled. The losses are already embedded. And the only question left is whether you'll see it coming or whether you'll be one of the people asking how no one warned them. The warning is here. The question is, will you listen? Now tell me, what do you think will be the first domino to fall? The companies that can't refinance? The pension funds forced to sell, or the regional banks hiding losses? Drop your answer in the comments below, because this conversation is just beginning. If this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening beneath the surface, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The dots are connecting faster than most people realize, and you don't want to miss what comes next. I'll see you in the next one.